I refused to be her backup plan. After that 11:53 p.m. confession, she said, "I'm still in love with my ex." I walked away quietly, then watched her rumor machine start using my name, until the bride texted me, "She has the rings." I'm Noah, 29, data analyst here in Charlotte. I've been with my girlfriend Cass for about a year and a half. She's an event coordinator, really good at her job, always organized, always planning something. We met through mutual friends at a brewery in South End, hit it off immediately, moved in together after about 10 months. I thought we were solid, like genuinely solid. We talked about future plans, joked about what our hypothetical wedding would look like, discussed whether we'd stay in Charlotte long term or maybe move closer to the mountains. Normal couple stuff. 4 nights ago, something weird happened that I can't stop thinking about. I came home from the gym around 8 and Cass was on her laptop at the kitchen table. When I walked past to grab water from the fridge, I caught a glimpse of her screen before she slammed it shut so fast she nearly knocked over her wine glass. It was a wedding website, one of those Zola or Not pages. The header said, "Maddie and Brandon," with a date 6 weeks out. There were engagement photos, a registry showing gifts already purchased, venue details with a timeline, the whole thing. Professional photos of them at some park I didn't recognize. I asked what she was looking at and Cass laughed it off immediately. She said it was just a pop-up ad, something random from a bridal blog she'd been reading for work. But here's the thing that stuck with me and kept me up that night. Maddie is supposedly Cass's best friend since middle school. They've known each other for 15 years. If Maddie was getting married in 6 weeks, wouldn't Cass have mentioned it? Wouldn't there be dress fittings, bridal showers, bachelorette party planning, literally anything? I hadn't heard Maddie's name in months, not once. I let it go that night because I'm not the type to create drama over nothing. I'm a pattern guy. I analyze data for a living, and I didn't have enough data points yet. I went to bed thinking maybe I misread the screen, or maybe there was a reasonable explanation I wasn't seeing. Then came last night. 11:53, my phone buzzes on the nightstand. Text from Cass even though she's supposedly asleep in our bedroom down the hall. I open it and my stomach drops. She wrote, "I need to be honest with you. I'm still in love with my ex. I can't help it." I sat there staring at my phone for a solid minute. My first reaction wasn't even anger. It was this weird calm clarity, like watching storm clouds roll in and knowing exactly what's about to happen. I texted back, "Thanks for telling me." That's it. Just acknowledgement. No emotion, no questions, nothing to grab onto. She responded immediately, "So you understand. I just need time to figure things out. Can we talk tomorrow?" And that's when I understood exactly what was happening. She wasn't ending things. She was trying to put me on pause. She wanted me to wait around patiently while she worked through whatever spiral she was in about her ex getting married. I was the backup plan, the safe option, the guy who'd still be there if whatever fantasy she was chasing didn't work out. I screenshot the wedding website I'd seen on her laptop earlier that week. Turns out I'd already Googled Maddie's full name out of curiosity after that weird laptop slam incident and found it easily. I sent Cass the screenshot with one line. "Interesting timing. When were you going to tell me your best friend is marrying him?" My phone started ringing instantly, call after call after call. 7 times in 3 minutes. I didn't pick up, I just sat there watching my screen light up over and over. Finally, I texted one clear boundary. "You don't need time. You need a backup. I'm not it." Then I packed a bag with enough clothes for a week, crashed at my sister Erin's place across town, and blocked Cass's number before I could second-guess myself. This morning I got a voice memo from a number I didn't recognize. It was Cass. Her voice was shaking and she sounded like she'd been crying for hours. She said, "If you tell Maddie anything, you will ruin everything. Please don't do this. I'm begging you. Just leave it alone and we can figure this out." So here's my question. Am I wrong for thinking this isn't actually about love? Because it feels like jealousy and control dressed up as feelings. She had a year and a half to tell me she wasn't over her ex. Instead, she waited until he was weeks away from marrying her best friend. That's not love. That's something else entirely. I don't know what to do with that voice memo. Part of me thinks Maddie deserves to know what's happening behind her back. But another part thinks it's not my place, and I should just walk away clean, block the new number, and move on with my life like none of this ever happened. What would you do? Update 1-2 days after my original post. I was at my apartment picking up more of my stuff. I'd been slowly moving things to Aaron's place, and I needed my work laptop and some files from the home office. I was there maybe 20 minutes when someone knocked on the door. Hard, insistent knocking. I opened it and there's Cass's older sister Heather standing there with her arms crossed and this expression I'd never seen on her face before. Heather's always been protective of Cass, but we'd gotten along fine before this. She came to our 4th of July barbecue. We'd grabbed drinks a few times. Totally normal. Not anymore. She immediately started in on me without even saying hello. She said I was cruel for abandoning Cass when she was vulnerable and going through something difficult. That it's normal to have doubts and panic before big life decisions. That I should have been patient and understanding instead of running away like a coward the second things got complicated. She said Cass was devastated, barely eating, calling out sick from work. Then she got to the real reason she was there. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Whatever you're thinking about telling Maddie, don't. You'll destroy a wedding and a friendship that's lasted 15 years over your hurt feelings. Is that really what you want? To blow up everyone's lives because you can't handle a moment of honesty?" I told her I wasn't planning to do anything. I just wanted to move on and forget this whole situation ever happened. She didn't believe me. She stood there in my doorway for another 10 minutes, trying to guilt me into promising I'd stay silent. She brought up times Cass had been there for me, brought up inside jokes, brought up future plans we'd made. Finally, my neighbor Derek came out into the hallway, saw what was happening, and just stood there with his arms crossed until Heather finally left. Good guy, Derek. We usually just talk about protein powder and basketball, but he came through when it mattered. That same night, around 9, I got a DM on Instagram from Maddie, the bride herself. My heart just about stopped. She wrote, "Hey Noah, I heard you and Cass broke up. I'm really sorry. I know this is weird, and I'm probably overstepping, but can we talk? I'm confused about some things, and I think you might be the only person who'll be straight with me." We met the next day at a coffee shop in Plaza Midwood, neutral territory. Maddie showed up looking exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy bun, still in her teaching clothes with marker stains on the sleeve. She sat down and immediately apologized for reaching out. She said she wasn't trying to get in the middle of my relationship drama, but something felt wrong and she needed to understand what was happening because her gut was screaming at her and she couldn't ignore it anymore. I asked what she meant by off. That's when everything started making sense in the worst possible way. Maddie told me Cass had been acting strange since the engagement 4 months ago. At first it was just small comments, little jokes that felt like they had edges on them. Things like, "Are you sure this is what you want?" Or, "Brandon's great, but marriage is permanent. You know, there's no going back from this." Maddie brushed them off as wedding stress because Cass was helping plan everything, and everyone knows wedding planning can make people weird. Then it got weirder. Cass tried to convince Maddie to switch the maid of honor position to someone else. She claimed the planning was too stressful and Maddie should give the role to another bridesmaid who had more free time. She suggested 3 different people. When Maddie refused because of course she wasn't going to demote her best friend, Cass created a separate group chat with the other bridesmaids and started running votes on wedding decisions without including Maddie. Centerpiece choices, dinner menu options, reception timeline. The bride wasn't even in the planning chat for her own wedding. Maddie pulled out her phone and showed me a text Cass sent 2 weeks ago, just sitting there in their message thread between normal conversations about meeting for coffee. "Are you absolutely sure he's really over me? Like completely sure? Because sometimes guys don't process their feelings until it's too late." My hands went cold reading that. I could feel my pulse in my ears. I told Maddie everything. The midnight confession text. The wedding website I'd seen on Cass's laptop that she tried to hide and claimed was an ad. The voice memo threatening me not to tell Maddie anything. The way she'd tried to park me as a backup plan while she spiraled. Maddie went pale. She set her coffee down and her hands were shaking so badly the cup rattled against the saucer. Then she told me something that made my blood run cold and confirmed this was so much worse than I'd thought. Cass is the maid of honor. And Cass currently has the wedding rings. Both of them. They were supposed to be engraved 2 weeks ago, but Cass kept saying the jeweler was behind schedule, then that there was a problem with the engraving, then that she'd pick them up early next week. Wedding is in less than 6 weeks now, and Maddie still doesn't have the rings in her possession. We sat there in that coffee shop for 2 hours going through everything. Timelines, text screenshots, behavioral patterns. I showed her the original confession text, the backup plan text, everything. Maddie started crying at one point, quiet tears just running down her face while she stared at her phone screen. She said, "I've known her since we were 12 years old. We learned to drive together. She was there when my dad died. How did I not see this? How did I miss all of this?" I didn't have an answer for that. All I knew was this wasn't about love. This was about Cass losing control of a narrative she'd been writing in her head for years. A narrative where she was the main character and everyone else was just playing supporting roles in her story. Update 2 first. The narrative warfare started. Cass apparently told multiple mutual friends that I was controlling and jealous throughout our entire relationship, that I forced her to choose between me and her best friend, that I couldn't handle her having male friends or a past, that I went through her phone and laptop obsessively. People started reaching out asking for my side of the story, some genuinely concerned, others clearly just fishing for gossip. I sent exactly 3 people the screenshots, people I trusted completely, and told everyone else I wasn't interested in relitigating a relationship that was already over. Then things got operational and honestly kind of scary. Maddie called me 3 days ago absolutely panicked, barely able to get words out. Her wedding venue and florist had both received emails supposedly from her requesting last-minute changes. The rehearsal dinner time shifted by 2 hours. Flower orders altered from white roses to red roses and back again. Confusing instructions about setup that contradicted everything they'd planned for months. The vendors were calling Maddie to confirm, and she had no idea what they were talking about. She hadn't sent any emails. She hadn't requested any changes. Everything was supposed to be locked in. My sister Erin got involved at that point. She's in HR at a major bank and deals with corporate policy violations and documentation all the time, so she knows how to build a paper trail. She told Maddie to save every email header, verify all vendor contacts directly by phone, not by email, and set up passwords on any future changes so nothing could be modified without verbal confirmation. That's when they discovered the sender email address. It looked exactly like Maddie's email at first glance, but one character was different. A lowercase l instead of an uppercase I. Someone had created a copycat email account specifically to impersonate Maddie. Not someone. Cass. It had to be Cass. She's an event coordinator. This is literally what she does for a living. She knows every vendor platform, every scheduling system, every communication protocol. She knew exactly how to create chaos without leaving obvious fingerprints. She knew how venues operate, how last-minute changes cause panic, how to exploit the trust vendors have in client emails. But she got sloppy. She texted me from yet another new number, the 3rd one now. "If you actually care about me at all, tell Maddie to slow down the wedding planning. Tell her I'm not okay and she needs to postpone until I'm in a better place. Please, Noah. I'm falling apart." I didn't respond. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Maddie with no comment. The manipulation was so transparent, it didn't need explanation. Then yesterday, Maddie heard a rumor through the bridesmaid group chat. Someone said they heard from someone else who heard from another friend that Noah told them Brandon still talks about Cass sometimes. That Brandon mentioned her name at the bachelor party last weekend. That there were unresolved feelings he was working through. That maybe the wedding was happening too fast. I have never said anything remotely like that to anyone. I've never even met Brandon in my entire life. I've been to exactly 0 bachelor parties for people I don't know. I haven't spoken to mutual friends about Brandon or Cass or anything related to this situation beyond confirming the basic facts when directly asked. Cass was using my name as a source. She was creating doubt and planting seeds of uncertainty, using me as the credible witness to make it believable. She probably figured I wouldn't find out or wouldn't care enough to correct it since I was already out of the situation. She was wrong on both counts. I wrote one message with Erin's help to make sure the language was clean, professional, and documented. Do not contact me again through any phone number or platform. Do not use my name in any capacity or attribute statements to me. Any further impersonation, defamation, or harassment will be documented and reported to appropriate authorities. This is your only warning. I sent it to every number Cass had texted me from and copied it to her official email address for documentation. Then I sent Maddie a complete timeline with screenshots of everything. The midnight confession text with timestamp. The wedding website screenshot. The "Don't Tell Maddie" threat voice memo I'd saved. The "I'm not okay" manipulation attempt. The fake vendor emails that Aaron had helped trace. Everything organized chronologically with context. Maddie responded 2 hours later with one sentence that made my stomach drop all over again. She still hasn't given me the rings back. She keeps saying next week. The wedding is in 10 days and I don't have my rings. I told Maddie she needed to get those rings back immediately with witnesses present. No more asking nicely. No more giving Cass chances to do the right thing. Just show up with people who won't be manipulated and take back what legally belongs to her and Brandon. I don't know what's going to happen at this wedding, but I have a feeling it's not over yet. Not even close. Final update. The night before the ceremony, Brandon got a package delivered to his office. He works in pharmaceutical sales, and apparently it was waiting at reception when he left at 6. Inside were printed photos from years ago. Him and Cass at college parties, football games, some formal dance, homecoming maybe, and a handwritten letter, multiple pages, front and back. Maddie showed me a photo of it later. The letter was about what could have been, alternate timelines where they'd stayed together, different choices they could have made, a request to talk privately before making anything permanent, just to make sure there were no regrets. Brandon didn't hide it. He didn't throw it away or pretend it never happened. He brought everything straight home and showed Maddie. He told her, "No secrets. Not now. Not ever. You need to see this, and we need to deal with it together." Then he called Cass right there in front of Maddie and told her in no uncertain terms that he'd been over their relationship for years, that he'd actually blocked her number 8 months ago because she wouldn't stop reaching out with random excuses to talk, that what she was doing wasn't love, it was obsession, and it needed to stop immediately. Maddie made her decision that night. She removed Cass as maid of honor and promoted her cousin Sarah, who'd been a bridesmaid, changed all the vendor passwords one final time with Aaron's help, and organized what she called a ring recovery mission. The next morning, Maddie showed up at Cass's apartment with 2 bridesmaids and Brandon's younger brother Marcus. Not aggressive, not dramatic. Just 4 people standing calmly in a doorway asking for the return of property that didn't belong to Cass. Cass tried to argue. Tried to say she was still getting them engraved. Tried to make it about feelings and friendship and how hurt she was that Maddie was doing this. Tried to cry and guilt them into leaving. Then Cass's mom came to the door. I guess she'd been listening from inside the apartment the whole time. She looked at her daughter and said, "Give them the rings, right now. Do not make this worse than it already is." "I mean it, Cassidy." Cass handed them over. The boxes weren't even wrapped anymore. They were just sitting in a drawer, apparently. She'd been keeping them out. Looking at them, maybe. Trying them on. I don't know. I don't want to know. But here's where it went completely off the rails in a way nobody saw coming. Cass showed up to the wedding anyway. She arrived during pre-ceremony photos wearing this champagne-colored dress that looked deliberately bridal. Satin material, fancy beading, the whole thing. Hair professionally done in an updo with flowers woven through it. Carrying a bouquet she must have bought herself that morning. She tried to walk past the venue coordinator into the bridal suite, claiming she needed to speak with Brandon privately. Just for a minute. Just to clear the air before the ceremony. Just to make sure he was sure. The venue manager stopped her. 3 bridesmaids stepped in. Security was already on alert because Maddie had warned them this might happen. Voices started rising. People came out of nearby rooms to see what the commotion was. And then Cass just snapped completely. She shouted loud enough that people in the hallway and outside on the patio heard it clearly. "You stole him from me. This should have been my wedding. I was supposed to be standing there. This was supposed to be us." The mask came completely off, in front of witnesses, in front of family members, in front of people with phones already recording because of course they were. Security escorted her to the parking lot. She sat in her car for over an hour until her sister Heather finally came and picked her up. Witnesses said she was just sitting there staring at the venue entrance. The wedding went on. Beautiful ceremony from what I heard. happy couple. No drama inside the venue after that initial scene. The fallout has been absolutely brutal for Cass. Maddie blocked her on everything, removed her from group chats, ended a 15-year friendship without hesitation or second-guessing. The friend group splintered hard. Most people sided with Maddie immediately. The story making the rounds is that Cass impersonated the bride to sabotage vendors, and then showed up at the wedding in a bridal gown to confront the groom. Which is all completely true. But hearing it said out loud like that makes it sound even more unhinged than it felt while it was happening. Cass's family stopped defending her after the wedding scene. Her mom apparently told relatives that Cass needed professional help, and they weren't going to enable the behavior anymore. Heather, the sister who showed up at my door demanding I stay silent, posted something on Facebook about supporting mental health treatment and knowing when to step back from toxic situations. I heard through the grapevine that Cass might be moving back home with her parents for a while. Brandon sent a message to the mutual friend group. He laid it out clearly and firmly. He'd been over their relationship for years. He'd blocked Cass months ago because she wouldn't respect boundaries. He called her behavior disturbing and asked everyone to stop bringing it up around him and Maddie. They were moving forward, and everyone else needed to do the same. Yesterday I got one final text from a number I didn't recognize. I knew it was Cass before I even opened it. She wrote, "I did love you, Noah. I really did. I just loved him more. I'm sorry I wasn't honest about that. I'm sorry for everything." I blocked the number without responding. There's nothing left to say to that. No response I could give would matter or change anything.